I'm going to show you how to change your oil. So get under your car and locate your oil pan and locate the drain plug and take it off. Just make sure you have something under it to catch all this oil. Just like that. Perfect. And let the oil just drain out. Then you want to go to your engine bay and pull your oil dipstick out and open your oil fill cap up. This is for two reasons. First, to allow airflow so the oil drains faster, and so you don't forget to check your oil and to fill your oil. Also, you want to undo your oil filter, make sure it's under the drain plug. Now there's a couple ways to do this. I literally stabbed it and had to use a screwdriver and a bunch of other things to take it off, and I do not recommend that way. It was such a pain and it took me hours and a lot of effort. I just recommend you go invest like $10-20 in an oil filter wrench, and don't get the strap ones or the rubber ones. Get the pliers, or in my experience, get the one which has 3 legs and a twist on it. That's a pretty good one. Prime your oil filter. You're going to take this piece of plastic that's on top off. And why do we prime the oil filter? Is because we don't want the car to run even for a second without oil. So priming means you're going to just take your filter and put in some oil in it. So let's do that. You're going to just get your oil can, pour some oil in there, boom. You see how all the oil disappears inside? That's because the oil filter is sucking it up. So you want to just keep pouring oil in. You don't want to fill it to the brim. That's good enough. There's oil inside, it's being sucked up, you know. You don't want to make it full like this, because then you're going to have a hard time screwing it in. Get some oil from inside, make sure you lubricate the O-ring so it seals properly, and let's go install this oil filter. The oil filter, just screw it in clockwise, hand tight for now. Yep. And we'll reach up there when it's good and hard to seal. Give it a couple more turns, make sure it's tight, and then you probably want to get your pliers and just give it like one full turn or like half a turn, just to lock it in place. Make sure it's tight because you don't want it to leak at all. So after we have our oil filter tightened, tighten in your oil drain plug. You want to just tighten it until you see it's loose, and when it gets hard at the end, just give it around a half a turn. Make sure it's snug. That's it. You don't want to turn it more than like a quarter or half a turn, because this is aluminum and you'll strip the threadings inside, and you don't want to do that. And then your oil drain plug would start leaking oil, like drops of oil over time, and you'd have to start refilling the oil or change the cover or maybe the plug itself. So be careful. Come to the step before the final step. You're going to fill up your engine with your oil. Now, to know what kind of oil you need, it's usually written on your oil filler cap, which is that cap right there, or you can find it in your owner's manual. For my car, it takes 5W20, but that's not available in my region, so I just fill it with 10W30. And now you can't just fill it with any oil you want. You have to fill it up with something close. So if your car takes 5W20, you can fill it up with 5W30. Now, why do I fill it up with 10W30? Is because I live in a desert. I live in the Middle East and it gets really hot here, so this offers better protection than the 5W20 or 5W30. So we're gonna fill up the 6 quarts of oil, then we're gonna check our oil, and you want to check your oil around 5 quarts. Now my car takes around 6 or 5 quarts, depending on how much you drain out and how much is still inside the engine that didn't drip to the bottom of the pan. So I'm gonna only fill out 5 quarts, and then I'm gonna check the oil dipstick, because it's much harder to take out oil than to add oil. So you don't want to put all your oil in and then check it, because maybe you'll overfill it, and that's gonna be a problem. So I just put 5 quarts of oil, as you can see, 5 quarts of oil into my engine, and I'm gonna go turn it on, let it circulate, and then check my oil dipstick. While the engine is on, you want to go down and check for any leaks at the filter or at the drain plug. And you don't want to see this, like, you know, dirt. This is fine. This oil residue on there, it's fine. As long as it's black, it's fine. But if it's dripping oil, even like a couple drops, then you need to tighten your drain plug a little bit more. And after you tighten it, if it keeps like leaking, or like there's a little drops, then you might need to actually take it to a mechanic, and he needs to replace the pan, the oil pan. And you want to check at the filter. If the filter is leaking a little bit and there's drips of oil, you want to tighten the filter more, or you want to take it to a mechanic so you could tighten it real well, or you could get that oil filter wrench and tighten it yourself. And if it's still leaking, you might need to change the oil filter adapter over there. So be careful, because these parts are really sensitive. You don't want to over tighten them, and you don't want to unscrew them very harshly or quickly. So don't use impact guns or any kind of, you know, like an air wrench or anything like that. You want to be gentle, just use hand tools, and you'll be okay to go. So mine is not leaking, so I'm just gonna go fill it up with the rest of the oil and make sure the oil level is correct. So after you let the engine run for a couple minutes, you want to turn it off, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then you want to wipe your oil dipstick down, put it back in to get an accurate reading, pull it out, and check your oil dipstick. As you can see, my oil level is perfect. I just put 5 quarts in. I'll drive the car for a while, let everything get oiled up, and if I need more oil, I'll add it up. And that's why you add like less than you need, and then you check, and if you need more, you add more. And that's how you change your oil in any car.